Sure. Perfect. Um, cool. So I am doing my first interview with Marnell with Acres of Hope. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. Awesome. I was looking through. My wife has been up there, super excited because she gets to go hold the babies and get that baby time in. And so I wanted to actually interview with you and learn more about Acres of Hope, and hopefully get the word out of all the good stuff that you guys are doing up there. So that's what this whole interview is going to be about. Tell me a little bit, like when I did some research looking at what you guys do, your numbers are pretty impressive in terms of how many people you have go through there and how I don't know, do you call it recidivism rate, like that would they fall back? Like, what is your rate right now?
Yeah, so we're at about 85%
Okay.
success coming out of Acres of Hope. We host up to 10 families at a time. So 10 moms and then 1 to 3 children per cottage. So occupancy can be anywhere from 20 to 45 at any given time. So there's a lot of women that come through our program.
20 to 45. So do you have, you said 10 cottages, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So 10, you could have a mom in there with a number of kids.
Up to 3 because
Up
of
to
the size
3.
of the cottages.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah.
configured differently based on the family. So sometimes we have bunk beds, toddler beds, a day bed. Just depends on the ages of the children that are with their
Okay. So let me back up because I haven't even kind of gone through who you guys help and why and everything else. Tell me a little bit about what women are coming to Acres of Hope.
Yeah, so we're a 2-year faith-based program for women and children that are coming out of homelessness. So they obtain housing for up to 2 years with us. They come from a variety of different backgrounds. So some have drug or alcohol issues when they come to us. They must be clean and sober for 90 days before they come onto campus. Some have trauma in their past, maybe domestic violence, maybe some isolation or other abuse, parental abuse, maybe. So it's really an individualized program. We help a wide variety of people, but they all have one thing in common, and that's that they're either homeless or on the verge of homelessness when they apply to our program.
Okay. I'd say awesome, but it's terrible. I mean, it's one of the things that I was like, this is gonna be hard for me. I cry easy, especially at things that are super
Yeah.
intense. And this is intense. I mean, we look around. I was joking with a friend of mine, not in a good way. We drive down 99, and you could just pull off any given point, and you see homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I talk to friends, we talk about, I hear about homelessness, and it's almost like it's so removed from us. But I think that's the kind of the bad thing, that we think that it's so removed, but it really isn't. So how do you guys? So here you are. I mean, to me, like sad. The worst thing, like a woman with kids on the street. How do you guys go about finding them? How does that all work?
So we have a lot of relationships with churches in the area. So a lot of times pastors will refer people to our programs. There's word of mouth. We have our thrift store in Roseville that seeks out different customers and clients who know people. So a lot of times it's just people who know people that are experiencing a difficult time. Of course, in 2024, we have Facebook and social media. We have our website that people are directed to. And then we also have relationships with a lot of different programs in the area. So we're able to get referrals and then also refer people out if we aren't the program for them. People call us, they're in crisis, they need help immediately. If Acres of Hope isn't a good fit, maybe they don't have children, maybe they're not clean and sober, then we find other programs, and it works both ways.
So 10. So if you have 10 houses, you have 10 possible spots, right? How often is all those spots filled?
Most of the time. So our goal is to help as many women and children as possible.
Yeah.
We don't like having empty cottages on campus.
Yeah.
However, we do have a transitional side. So there's an intake side, and then there's a side before they're ready to go back out into society full force. We have transitional housing. So it's less supports in place, but they're still on campus and in our community. So it just depends on when women are graduating from one side and going to the other, if we have cottages open. Or sometimes, of course, women don't make it all the way through the program or things change in their lives and they have to exit.
Mm, that's got to be tough.
It is.
Um, so, all right. So you have a 2-year program that goes on. Women that are coming in are coming from some sort of homeless situation or near homeless situation. They have to be off drugs or off alcohol for at least 90 days.
Mhm.
Um, how many more could you take if you had 10 more 10 more units around? I mean, is there a huge need for this?
Yeah, it fluctuates from time to time. So sometimes we don't have a lot of applications coming in. Other times there are more than we can potentially help. Of course, if we had 10 more cottages, then expenses would be higher. We'd have more payroll. We'd have more staff here. So everything would have to be adjusted. I think right now we're at a really good place where, with the staff we have, we're able to have an individualized program for every mom and child that comes through here. They all have a case manager that they work with to help pay off their debts or work on schooling, help with housing, get them transportation or their license or go to court with them. So at this point, we're really able to help the women and children the best that we can with the staff that we have. But in the future, who knows? Growth is always an option.
Yeah. So I think you hit on something that's really interesting to me. So each one of these families gets an individual case manager when they come in. So they come in, and I gotta believe that they're kind of, I don't, is destitute the right word? They're in a terrible spot. I don't know, how would you describe it?
Really depends on the women. So some are frightened when they come in. Some are overly excited about the possibility of having a place to stay that is safe for themselves and for their children. Um, I think every woman that we have come in here is so individual that there isn't one broad term to describe them all. My
Yeah.
favorite is sitting in on their intake interviews to be able to see what their needs are, where they came from, and then what goals they have for their future. What can Acres of Hope do to help them get from where they are to where they want to be? And we have one case manager that oversees all of the women here. So they meet with her at least once a week, depending on their needs. Some have active CPS cases, or they're working with court, or they're dealing with an ex husband or boyfriend that takes more time. But she meets with them at least once a week to go over whatever their plan is and then help them be successful. So it's really a hands up program, not a hands out program. They have to do the hard work.
So, I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, there's got to be like this huge kind of, on one side, excitement for being able to help someone, but then on the other side, your heart's got to be broken often for when they come in, of just seeing how we leave people in society. Like, how do you reconcile those two?
Yeah. So at first, when I started working here, it was really difficult. And it's even more difficult when you can't help every person that walks through the
Yeah.
door. We're not a good fit for them. But once you see the transformation that occurs, so for some women, that's 30 days. Some it's 6 months. Some it's the entire length of the program. But to see where they started and what our community and our staff is able to assist them with and where they can go in the future, it is just the most amazing thing to witness. So it makes it all worth it. It's just can be difficult when you can't help that family.
Yeah.
That's really when the hard time comes in. But the women who come in that are going to complete our program, absolutely incredible,
It
indescribable.
it must be awesome because, like, literally you're spewing out joy just as you sit there and talk, right? Like I'm sitting here like nearly like broken because I'm like, this is terrible, but you see this other side, and that's got to be just really cool. Um, okay, so tell me. Okay, so we have a mother come in with kids, without kids, and then they get a case manager. They sit with them. Maybe give me the 2-year process. Like, how do they go from one and then they move to this other location? Give me a little bit of that.
Yeah, so we have 5 phases to our program. When the women first come in, they are in the very first phase. It's a lot more restrictive than any further phases. They don't have cell phones, there's no TVs. They are essentially cut off from their outside connections until we discover with them if those people are safe people for them to move forward with in their life. So a lot
Mm,
of reflection takes into
yeah.
account. The women get to know themselves a little better. They work on goal setting. They get acclimated with not only our staff members, but this community of other women and children that are already established here. So it's a lot that they go through in the first 30 days. If women do leave our program, it's typically within those first 30 days because it's a shock from where they've been, but it's really necessary for them to step forward.
Okay.
After that, they're involved in outside supports. So they get established with their mentor. They're going to church on Sundays with the group. Sometimes they're in therapy or seeing their doctor, whatever their individual needs are. They're working on, do they have any open court cases? Do they have CPS that we need to work with? Is their debt, has that been accumulating over time and we need to help them learn to budget and pay that off? Some come in and they've never meal planned before. They don't know how to make a nutritious meal. So we work with some of those life skills and parenting skills. And as they go through the program, the 5 phases, they are able to gain more independence as they go. So with each step, they have a little bit more freedom, a little bit more independence. They're able to have passes to go off site, starting with 2 hours at a time and working themselves up into an overnight visit if they choose
Mm.
to. So our goal is really to support them fully when they first come in, and then slowly start to take away some of those supports as they're starting to stand on their own 2 feet and know that they can do this on their own, that they don't have to have us holding their hand through this process anymore. But we're still here if they need them. We're still here if they have questions. But they're able to do this on their own. That's the goal, is to teach them how to do that.
That's awesome. So what do you, when they come in, what do you find is like the biggest missing piece? Like, I think about it like this. I mentioned it to somebody the other day, is that we all get started with this box of Legos, right? And in that box, usually, like for people that have good parents, we get actual directions, like how everything gets put together, and we try to put together as good as possible. But there's definitely people, and even if you have good parents, like my oldest daughter, I think her box is a little scattered to begin with, right? Um, so I would think that these are people that their box has been scattered. Somebody ripped open the box, threw the Legos all over the place. And then when they come to you, you guys are helping them put this back together. What are the main pieces? What are those pieces that you start with that helps them to kind of start to see that they are a beautiful creation?
Mhm. Building trust, I think, is the biggest piece we have to work with. Over time, what they've grown up with, the majority of our women have lost trust, whether that be with their parents, with a spouse or a partner, with the outside community. Um, they don't have that piece. And until they learn to trust our community, our staff, each other, themselves, they can't really move on past that.
Mm,
And most, if not all, come in with some types of trauma from their past that are keeping them from moving forward and building that trust.
okay. So you work, you're building the trust, and I would assume that's partly through taking things away, but then seeing how they're interacting with each other and everything else. I think I saw somewhere that in their units they don't have kitchens or anything else like that. So it sounds like there's a big element of the community part, which I would think kind of parallels with trust. Maybe can you tell me a little bit more about how that works?
You've got it. So when they come in, they tend to isolate. They would spend all day in their cottages if they could with their families, just in a safe, secure place. However, they're not going to build that trust in there. And we believe heavily in community, first our community and then the larger outside community. So we encourage the women to come up to the main house where they have meals together. Breakfast and lunch they do independently, but dinner, one mom cooks for the entire community of women and children. That's giving them
Wow.
a lot of skills. They're learning how to budget their money, go grocery shopping, plan a nutritious meal, serve it to the entire community. And it gets the women out of the house. They also spend their morning in daily devotions. They have classes that we group them together based on when they have come in or what their specific needs are. So we're always trying to have them get outside of, their own cottage and out into the bigger community. They play at our park, which is on site together. They go to church together. A lot of time spent with their new Acres of Hope family.
That's cool. I was watching one of the videos and it was talking about this park, and I didn't think about what it meant, and maybe, I mean, there's a name for the park, and maybe you can tell what the name is, and then how that all loops together.
Yeah, we lovingly refer to it as Redemption Park. And park for our families was not always a safe place. A lot of time that's where drug deals could happen, or people would be overdosing, or they would be with unsafe people. The park here is their safe spot. It's a place to just go out and be a kid. And like our moms, our children also need to build that trust. And this is a great place for them to do it. It's right outside their cottages. It's fully gated in. It's a beautiful play space for them. And not too long ago, I had a Sacramento County sheriff that came and toured. And he said something that really stuck with me. When he was at the park, he looked around and was just amazed and said, "Your kids don't have to worry about finding needles at this park." And that, it gives me the chills every time I think about it.
Yeah.
That's what he witnesses every day. And that's what a lot of our kiddos witnessed when they were out at the park. So to have this safe place that our community helps tend to, and our moms and our volunteers and our staff members are able to go out and interact with these kids in a fun, safe environment is priceless.
That's awesome. I think about like rewriting scripts, right? And I think there was something in here that was talking about how homelessness can be a cycle. And I don't think I ever thought about homelessness as a cycle. Like, how much of a cycle is it?
So our goal really is to break the cycle of homelessness, not only for our moms, but future generations. Our moms typically, or at least a good portion of them, had homeless parents. Some of their parents are still in a state of homelessness. A lot of times you grow up knowing something and living something, and that's what you continue to do because you don't know any different. Or once you get into that cycle of homelessness, it's so hard to break out, especially in the state of California. It's expensive to live here. It's difficult to get a job if you're homeless, to have the resources you need. A lot of our families don't have a ton of schooling. Most of the time, they don't come in with their high school diplomas. So that is also something that we work with them on, getting the skills that they need, working with Placer County Office of Education to be able to get them their high school diploma so that they can further their lives and get those jobs that they would seek out to not go back to a state of homelessness once they leave here.
That's awesome. So that I could just, I see where that redemption park, that I always think about the brain and how we rewrite our scripts, right? Or can, if we put good information in, and these kids are getting this good information. It would seem that the girls and the women that are coming there, what they have to have rewritten is got to be much deeper. Like, there's got to be a lot of pain. There's a lot of things that they've seen, etc. Like, what else do you see that they have to go through? What are the steps they have to go through to kind of unpack that and then actually have a good road or a good way of dealing with life as once they leave?
So our curriculum and book studies, the therapy that they attend is all preparing them for that. But when they get to a certain point in our program, we have them do something that we call timeline. And they get up in front of the entire community and they give their testimony. They talk about where they started, what they've overcome, and where they're going with their future. And that moment is often a breaking point for these moms because they're able to let it go, release it, and move on past that. After that, they give their presentation. We typically let them go back to their cottages and just have some time to themselves because it is a really emotional experience for them dealing with that trauma. And of course, with the outside supports, the therapists, church groups, mentors, they're able to keep working through that because it could be a lifelong process depending on what they've come from and what they've seen, and holding on to some of those past memories could get them back in that same place again. So it's so important that they talk about it, release it, and are able to move on with the supports that are provided for them.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's so many times I'm like, I have no clue what it's like. I have no clue what that's like, and I could imagine the hurdle that one has to go through as they go through that. I mean, I know from listening, especially to my wife and what's going on there. Great program, lots of great stuff going on there. You have the Acres of Hope, but then you also have the Renew store. And I think when I was looking at this, like the Renew store is something like generates 40% or something of the revenue that comes in.
You got it.
And I think is there a couple of them or there's just one?
We have just one store. A while ago, it was divided into separate spaces, but in 2022, it moved all into one cohesive space. It's in Roseville on Santa Clara Drive, and it's absolutely amazing. So we have 8 staff members. The rest are all volunteers that give their time towards this store. And it generates about 40% of what we do here. So it is invaluable to our organization. We have donations that come in. You should see the things that people are giving to our store in order to support the Acres of Hope program. Everything from furniture to fine china. You can find it all at the Renew store. But to see the joy in the volunteers' faces and how they're giving their time freely in order to support our organization, it's amazing. The vibe in there is just absolutely incredible. And I never walk out of there without spending some money myself.
That's awesome. So, okay, let's give you the proverbial magic wand, right? And so you have an unlimited budget. What do you do? What's the first things? I mean, what does Acres of Hope need?
So right now we're working on a new children's building. So just like our moms went through trauma, as I mentioned, the kiddos did too. And we have a children's program on site. However, right now it's divided into 2 of our family cottages, which is not ideal for our staff members, for the kids, and for the volunteers being in 2 separate spaces. So the goal in 2024 is to get that new building on site, and then that'll open up 2 more cottages for our families. And of course, once we get this building, you have to think about site prep. You have to think about the furnishings and what's going to go into this new larger space. But that would be my wish in 2024 is to get that building here and available for our families to use, and then be able to welcome 2 more families to Acres of Hope as a result.
Awesome. So what's the number? How much do you guys need to raise for that?
Well, the building itself is fully funded thanks to an amazing donor that we had in 2021.
Okay.
We're very fortunate with that. As far as site prep goes, furnishing the building, all of that will probably be around $50,000. And we take things around here one project at a time. We're on almost 4 acres. So it is a revolving door of maintenance needs that we have, and just the upkeep and the payroll and general expenses of running this nonprofit. What we're typically wishing for on the day-to-day basis. We're not government funded because we are faith-based. So we rely solely on private donors, family foundations, and grants to keep this all alive.
All right, so we need 50 G's to get this next step done, right?
Yes.
Is that what we're saying?
That would be cool.
I think it's doable. It's very doable, especially with all the work that you guys are doing. What's cool about this project, from what I barely know, but to me, it releases 2 more units so that you can have 2 more people, 2 more women with kids off the street. Like what a perfect, awesome impact. It's like, okay, we just need to get 50 over here. And then we've got 2 more ready and available for people that really could use some help.
Absolutely.
Awesome. We will definitely spread the word and do our best to help you get that 50,000. Tell me anything else that I'm missing of Acres of Hope that you're like, here's one little thing that I wish everybody knew about Acres of Hope.
One thing that's my favorite is that we work with reunifying children with their parents. So a lot of times when moms come in, they may have one child that's in their custody, but they are not with their other children or child. And we work with that reunification process. What do they need to do in order to prove that they have turned their life around, that they are making the right choices, and get that child back in their lives? And it is one of the most beautiful sights to experience when you see that kid get out of the car for the first time and come to Acres of Hope to be their new home with their mom. And their mom has the skills and the ability and the drive to be the mom that their child needs them to be. It's really a beautiful thing.
That's awesome. I was listening to one other story, and you probably know the story. Was talking about this kid that was holding up this gold key, and it was like, and I mean, I almost will cry at this one. Just the idea that this young kid was now able to be with the mom because of being there. I just thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, before I start tearing up on video, thank you for all the work that you guys are doing there. If there's anything that we can do going forward, we're 100% behind you, and it's a lovely program.
Thank you so much. I also have, if you want to, it was requested that I had an alumni that was able to.
Oh, yeah.
And she is not only our alumni, but she's also a staff member here. So
Awesome.
if you give me 1 minute, I can go grab her from the house and you can speak with her for a couple minutes.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Man, I did. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just like that. Oh, okay. Sorry for the delay. She was out working.
Oh, that's awesome. How are we doing?
Good. How are you?
I am great.
Awesome.
Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
You're like, why not? I didn't get your name. What's your name?
My name is Sunny Robertson.
Sunny. Is that Sunny or I?
IE.
IE. Wow.
Yeah,
Awesome. So, Sunny, you are an alumni.
I am.
Awesome. How long ago were you? Did you start going through the program?
I got here in September of 2019, 20. Ooh,
Okay, so 2019. I'm gonna have you go move a little to your right, just a hair.
to my right?
Yeah, perfect. Now, perfect. All right. So you started the program in 2019.
Yes.
And then did you go through? Was it a full 2 years for you?
23 months.
23 months. Oh, we cut off a month.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
must you must have been a great student then.
Yeah. I think that it's been kind of rare that they make it all the way through the 2 years, just because I think people tend to get their, everything in place a little bit sooner. But
Okay.
that's just how it worked out for me.
So, I mean, would you mind sharing like what brought you there?
Okay. Yeah. So, um, I grew up in, chaos and dysfunction. My mom and dad were addicts. Everybody in my family went to prison, and it was just what I had always known. I did, have a period in my life where I'm like, I'm not going to be like my family. I had deep down in there, I wanted a desire to do more and do better. But unfortunately, I started using drugs in probably my early 20s, and started kind of having kids pretty young. Um, my kid's father and I split up, and my kids ended up going into foster care. And this was back in 2013. Um, and, just bad choices in my life, bad decisions. It kind of just snowballed into a whole disastrous life. Um, my kids were removed, and I tried to get clean and sober when that happened. And it just, I don't know exactly like why I was unable to complete treatment at that time, but I wasn't. I kind of went through like some mental health stuff and depression and kind of like the efforts at the time. And I ended up catching a criminal case. I was with somebody that did something that I happened to be like basically just being there. And I ended up going to prison for 26 months. Um, and I had like a realization at that time in my life that, um, I had got like the final closing paperwork from, child services that my kids were completely not in my custody anymore. And while I was in a receiving yard in a state prison, I was only like 25, 24 at the time. And so it just kind of like hit me like, oh my gosh, my life just completely fell apart. Um, I ended up, I came home, and my intentions were to do well and to get my life together and be a good mom. I had missed, that time with my kids. They were 6 and 2 when I went in, and I had all intentions of doing well. Unfortunately, if you don't have a good plan in place in recovery when it comes to the disease of addiction, most of the time people relapse, and so that's what happened to me. And it kind of went back into a whirlwind of addiction and, just those bad choices and unhealthy patterns. And then along came, depression and anxiety and all of that stuff that kind of coincides with it. I ended up getting pregnant again. Sorry, this is a long story. I'm trying to cut out like as much as I can.
Don't apologize.
I ended up getting pregnant again by this guy who wasn't a very good guy. I was in it. I was really under the influence of drugs at the time, and I was on parole at the time. And my parole officer decided, I'm going to send you to a program, and I went to a program for 9 months when I was pregnant with my son. So by the grace of God, I was able to have a healthy baby. Got a head start in my life again, came back home again and, got a really good job and bought a car and was like saving money and trying to get my foot in the door to like just get my life started again. Cause again, I felt like would try to get my life started and I just never could. It was like the disease of addiction or the people or the places I was at. And my family wasn't very healthy either. And my mom's house was the only place I ever had to go whenever I came home from a program or, prison and things like that. So it wasn't like a healthy environment for me to try to get my life together in any way. So anyways, I relapsed again. I had this baby staying on my mom's couch and it just kind of another disaster. But, his dad was not a good person and I knew from the gate that, that this baby would have nobody but me to take care of him and give him a good life and try to have some sense of normalcy in his life. Cause the way I grew up and the way that what I've been exposed to is not what kids should be exposed to. And deep down, I had the desire. I always had the desire deep down. So when he was he was about 2 years old, I decided I'm going into treatment again. And I had found a program that would take me and him together. So I went and, you only get like 90 days funded for you. So when my 90 days was coming up at about 60 days in, I was like, I'm a little bit sober and, all of that, but I still have nowhere to go. I have no money. I have no job. I don't have no license, no car, but I have a baby, to take care of. And I don't know what I'm going to do. And it was really scary for me, but I knew that I needed to do something. And I didn't even really understand or know that long-term programs existed at the time. I remember telling my counselor at the time, I'm like, I wish there was just like this long, a place that I could be at that was a longer term where I can like actually slowly get one thing lined up, do one thing at a time, kind of get situated with my child and get him taken to the doctor and get our health in order and, get my driver's license back and work on getting a job and saving money and all of that stuff. And so she had given me, Acres of Hope. It was like, there is a place. And so I applied and came to the interview and it was the absolute perfect program for me. I came with my son when he was about 2.5. And it was really hard to adjust to, another new place but it was the first place that he was ever able to actually sleep in his own bed and, starting to feel safe and starting, I feel like I've just accomplished so much throughout this program. It's been a huge blessing in our lives. Long
That's so awesome. I'll see if I can get through the rest of the interview without crying here. Yeah, so it's amazing just to sit there and just think about that your story is not unique, right? I mean, it's unique to you, but the sad thing is that Acres of Hope exists because of girls like you that have just been in situations that I never would know or understand about. Mm-hmm. So kudos to you for, like not giving up. I think a lot of times people think in the terms of addiction that, when you fail once, you're done. Right. Mm-hmm. And the reality is we have to we fail and we move forward. We fail and we move forward. And that's a lot of what it sounds like your story's about. So I think that's awesome that you continued on. How are things now? I mean, like you have a great smile, like there's like joy spewing out of you. So tell me like how things are now.
Well, so going through this program, I will tell you, it was not easy. It's definitely not easy coming in and saying, okay, this is where I have to be for 2 years. Some women come in saying, I get to be here for 2 years, but sometimes you have those people that are like, really like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. And this is a long time. And so I did, of course the program was hard for me at times and my children, but today, my My two older kids, I had gained the relationship back with them. My two olders are 14 and 17 now. So that 6 and 2 year old that I had left behind in the middle of all of this craziness, I have a really good relationship with now. They come regularly. They still kind of go back and forth with me and their dad, but it's definitely a different story these days. And I was able to graduate high school. I was able to start some college courses while I was here, done a little bit of college. I got my driver's license back, got a car. I started working at a detox center, helping other people that were, detoxing off of drugs in a treatment center. I was interning as a counselor there for a little while, worked there for about 15 months. And then I started, kind of talking about the fact that this is such a deadly disease and it's so hard and it's really sad to watch people like cry and beg and be like completely broken down because of drugs, but they want to be clean, and I feel like in those moments, there's nothing that I can do but pray for people. But working in a state funded facility, I was not able to pray with them. And that was kind of one of my things that I was like, man, it's really hard for me, somebody just kind of jokingly was like, hey, you should apply at Acres. And I applied. And so now I get to work here. I am the assistant program manager. I get to do the intakes for the women that are coming in, kind of processing who qualifies and looking at their applications and setting up interviews. But I also get to be in the main house with the women, just basically mentoring and helping them throughout their day and their life skills and how to manage appointments and kids and a program in school and applying for housing and applying for things, car insurance, driver's licenses, all those kinds of things. So I get to be here to kind of walk other women through that at Acres of Hope. And I 1000% believe in this program. So I'm always willing to talk when anybody ever asks.
What a great story. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I was talking to Marnell, it's, I think it's one of these sad things where we dismiss this homeless space so easily. We dismiss the people that get onto drugs as if, you had every choice at every moment, right? Like it was as simple as all you had to do is just make one little change, Sonny, and everything would have been done. And it's just not that easy, right?
No, yeah.
Yeah. So, high five. If I was there, I'd hug you. I just think it's awesome. The journey that you've taken and what you've done for yourself and for your kids as far as just turning your life over.
Yeah.
I don't have any, do you have anything else you want to add in?
Well, in June, I will have 5 months clean and sober, completely
Awesome.
off of all drugs and alcohol. And I just wanted to add, like, this program is not only like the recovery aspect, the life skills aspect, the parenting aspect, the housing, all of it. And it's also, extremely important to me because it also has the faith-based background. So, that's it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Would you guys mind if I prayed over you guys and prayed over Acres of Hope?
Oh, no, not at all.
That'd be awesome. All right. I'm a Catholic boy, so and Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Oh, dear Heavenly Father, I just thank you so much for the blessings of Acres of Hope, the love and joy that you have poured into the place and you pour in and through each and every one of them. I pray as they go through this week and the rest of this year that you will continue to strengthen them, you will continue to guide them, and you will continue to give them wisdom to help the women that they're helping. You bring the women that need to be helped. You open the doors financially for this next project, and that they might be fully encapsulated with your love, fully in your hands, and they might know that you are the God, the designer, and the giver of the unending love. Please be with them. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You ladies have a great day. Thank you.